Good night, Papua New Guinea, and welcome to this week's episode of Sports Scene. It's always great to have your company. I'm Elijah Lavette, and I'm joined by Miss Dini Rose Raiko. Dini, how's it going? How's it been over the weekend?
Great. Very long weekend.
Yes.
Very interesting things to see around the city in the last few days. Some activities down at Ella Beach, some at the Boulevard as well.
Yes. The independence celebrations, that is, and a lot has also happened with some sporting events that has happened during the long weekend. Let's take a look at what's coming up tonight. Now on the show tonight we have some para sports, the National Hockey Championships, the Rugby World Cup schedule, and some independent sports for you.
And we begin with some independent sports. Hundreds of school students in Port Moresby were part of various organized sports over the long Independence Weekend, which ended this week. Our team was out and about to capture the fun-filled games.
Hyped with independence fever, students from schools in the big city were at the Bicini Sports Precinct and Rita Flynn Complex, all in the name of sports. The unforgiving sun wasn't enough to stop the energetic youngsters from enjoying their play.
Independence games out here, are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, I'm enjoying myself and with my friends.
Alright, so the atmosphere here, is it very conducive for you as a student? Would you like to see more of this happening in Moresby?
Yes, it could help other schoolers and teachers in making friends with other students in other schools.
Yeah, my friends and I are enjoying ourselves playing soccer. We are coming from Gero Primary and it's far from this place.
The sporting activities include volleyball, soccer, touch football and netball. The organizers of the games, NCDC, partnered the education department to run the tournament.
Our events organizers wanted for us to organize beginning play sports for the school children, and so we this year moved away from the youth sports, independent celebrations to children's sports. So this year we call this sports carnival. When you look at the different sports levels, we try to appreciate different levels of competitions in different ways, and we felt that it's good for us to target schools this year. So primary schools, initially there were 16 schools that we identified, but unfortunately two schools were not able to organize themselves, so we went to 14 schools.
NCDC plans to work with respective schools' administrations and develop skills of students going forward.
You know, Dini, despite all the other independent celebrations that were going on, also sporting event that had the school children here in Port Moresby take part in, and which is good to see a lot of school children come out and take part in the different sporting events that happened during that time.
For like organized sports, especially for the kids, hasn't been done in a long while, so it's good to see them going out there and having a good time out there, organized by NCDC, of course. So that's a great initiative that, we look forward to seeing continuing in the next few years as well.
Good stuff there. We'll head out for a few short messages and we'll be back with more Sports Scene.
Welcome back, you're watching Sports Scene. There are many views to what contrasts a perfect place to select the ultimate athlete, yet one simple place to start is the schools.
A physical education lesson can be sometimes boring, yet it can be an appetizer for those who delight on sport. The out-of-the-classroom lessons and activities best works for some. One school in Port Moresby didn't sit back and simply ignore the state-of-the-art facilities at hand. It simply jumped at the chance to use it. Salvation Army College made use of the Sir John Guy Stadium.
In my 5 weeks of PE lessons, I have already identified so many talents who have the ability to do many different events, and I'm really proud that I have initiated the program, and I would also encourage other schools to come here and do the same so that they can identify their talents in their own schools.
Sports is part of formal education in schools in PNG. This taught through PE lessons, one of the many subjects in the curriculum.
PE is an integral part of the school curriculum where it motivates and stimulates growth in different areas, and so it is important that we must embrace sports in schools, and that's how we do that. We involve a number of sports, not only athletics, not only ball games, but we also include racket sports. We did go, and next year we are looking forward for swimming classes at the aquatic center.
There are many notions as to what constitutes the best place to scout for talent in sports, for that matter, more so in athletics. Some point to competitions. Why not? It's an affordable approach considering finance remains yet the final determiner. Others argue a broader view in selections, one made up of talent from one province to another. While that's achievable, it cannot be. Present the financial constraints and lack of adequate funding, the next choice would be a school carnival.
Kids are young, that's where we start nurturing them, providing the necessary skills, the techniques of respective sport for them, and those that excel then perhaps can at the later stage can represent the country.
It is the base, so we start from the foundation with the kids as well, and that's where you can identify talents. The sport of athletics is a sport that covers the basic movement components of the body. You have running, jumping, and throwing, which if we can build that base on and then move into the other sporting codes.
NCDC has acknowledged this as an avenue.
We are also promoting, developing, and identifying talents. And I think this is the level that we start to look at the school children. Some of the national federations do it, but some national federations don't do it because of many reasons. And therefore, we felt that NCDC, the city authority, we felt that it's necessary for us to target the schools. So we are very pleased to partner with NCD Education. We also talk about promoting and advocating partnership, private and public partnership. So in this regard, it's public partnership between NCDC and as well as NCD Education. So it will go a long way in our journey to promote and recognize these young talents.
Dini, it's always good to get talent from schools, especially.
Yep.
This is one thing James Marape said in his speech farewelling the Team PNG athletes to Samoa in July this year. What he said was they want to start, going into schools and start getting students in grade 6, grade 7, grade 5, and start building them so that they can, when they get older, they become very, very competitive instead of starting at a much older age.
Yep.
So that's what his plan was for sports in PNG.
I think one of the other benefits for scouting talent in schools as well is when we encourage these type of activities in schools and having selection processes being made, especially in school carnivals and school organized sports, it encourages students to stay in school. For those that are aspiring to eventually be scouted for a certain sport at any point in their life, they know that, okay, this is the place I need to go to, and that's where I can be identified as a potential athlete. So this is a really good initiative to include schools as well, especially in this program for younger children especially.
Yeah, well, you know, children like to play a lot of sports, and one thing that they look forward to is PE in sports, and that's one thing that they're heading towards. Anyways, moving on, Special Olympics PNG's Unified Football concluded its 2019 season on a high. Now, competition manager Willie Vira says the competition has grown greatly since its inception.
The seven-a-side concept sees school-age children filling teams that comprises of children including those with disabilities playing.
Unified football competition started in 2016 after I attended the coaching course, which was conducted by Tottenham Spurs Football Club, English Premier League in Singapore. After going through 2 courses and being licensed with level 2 coaching under Tottenham Spurs, I came back and started the competition here in Papua New Guinea in 2016. So from that competition, we have taken the team down to Abu Dhabi this year for World Games, Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, which we played against some big worlds like Canada and etc. And we lost in bronze playoff. So we came 4th out of 16 countries. So this year's competition, we have 26 teams participating, 6 in each division. There are 2 divisions in both female and male, A, B, and C.
So far, it's only run in Port Moresby or elsewhere?
I have introduced this competition in Buka, Kimbe, and Rabaul, but it's not effectively running there. It's now currently it's only running in Papua New Guinea, Port Moresby. Unified football, we first ever played PNG games in 2018, 17 years in Kimbe. So Team Central defeated Team Median in the goals playoff. So it's now growing bigger interest. That's why you can see in Port Moresby now we have mainstream schools and inclusive schools taking part, and also the nearby villages in Central Province. So like we have the first teams are coming from Barakau and Sogeri.
What's the interest been like from you seeing the teams come out?
Many disabilities, they were kept in the secret corner of their house. Through this competition, it has now given that opportunity to people with disabilities. They came out and shown their talent, which were hidden. Through these competitions, you can see now they have now met new friends, and now they have more friends. And parents, especially parents, they see that their kids with disabilities, they have the potential, which they never knew that.
So more or less able children playing with those with special needs?
Yes, we mix the able with disabilities because through disability alone they cannot perform. The skills cannot head on. So I believe that I include the able so that they see from their friends, and now their level of football has changed. They can play better football at this point of time. In normal seven-a-side soccer, you don't have a high ball. In here, we do have a high ball, but at a maximum height. We don't do the goal kicks, drop kicks, we only kick in. And the difference is that you must have 4 disabilities and 3 able bodies.
We'll go for a break now, and on the other side we bring you the National Hockey Championships. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're watching Sports Scene. Talk about inclusive sports. A former Australian para-athlete, Tim Mathews, says there has to be a mindset change of para-sport athletes in PNG. He was in Port Moresby on a 2-day visit.
Minus the crutches and everything else, with or without the wheelchair, in the name of sports, the fun must go on. The Tauranga Aquatic Centre in Port Moresby was the gathering place for the para-sporters. A game of badminton. Not too famous of a sport for most, yet proving to be an interest for these para-athletes. Present on a two-day visit was Australian great Tim Mathews.
Representing Oceania Paralympic Committee, it received a grant from the GTOS Foundation, which is an arm of the International Paralympic Committee, and with support of PNG High Performance, supporting the development of coaches to upskill them on para information, to understand what classification is in para sport, and also a little bit of work around talent ID across a range of sports.
Beyond the visual human barriers lies a talent that waits to be unleashed. Tim takes a different view of a para-athlete's makeup, one that has no barrier and special privileges.
Understand that an athlete is an athlete, whether they're a para-athlete or an able-bodied athlete, to treat them as athletes, and also just to understand classification and the importance of classification in para-sport, because it's not always the fastest athlete is not always the best athlete. So I think it's fantastic that High Performance PNG are supporting para-athletes that are included within the programs and receiving support, but it's also important for athletes to recognise that that it's not an entitlement. They need to be trained as elite athletes and commit to their program. Events such as the PNG Games and other competitions that are including athletes with a disability is fantastic. It's really good to include, because that can help change cultures, like change attitudes towards people with a disability, and the more we can expose people with a disability to travel, to represent their country, win gold medals, that can change attitudes of people, which is fantastic.
Tim isn't a new face to PNG. He's been here before in different capacities. He gives his impression of the country's strides in inclusive sports.
First time I came to PNG was to Kokopo, to PNG Games in 2007, which was a fantastic experience. But to come back here and see a venue such as this, and the athletics stadium and some other, it's amazing. So athletes here have fantastic facilities, and they're well taken care of. People respect them. So I think this provides a great opportunity. They're all accessible, which is fantastic. We can see people in wheelchairs. They can get in the building, no problem. It makes a big difference. So I think things are moving in the right direction, which is fantastic.
His visit has been well received by High Performance PNG.
What category they're coming, as well as the events they're supposed to be in. Yeah, that's something that we as coaches and athletes learned, and we're really happy about it, that the team has come over here to share his knowledge with para-sport. Brings out athletes and individuals from their hiding place. Like, most of them think that people with disability, they don't have much to do. They only stay back at their homes. And with these programs coming up, they bring them out from their homes, which is really good for them to come out and experience and get that exposure, as well as getting identified, because most of them, they have potential.
We'll go for a break now, and on the other side, we'll bring you the 2019 Rugby League World Cup schedule. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Sports Into Rugby, and we're now over 24 hours away from the opening ceremony of the 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan at the Tokyo Stadium. The host nation will kickstart the World Cup in the opener against Russia in Pool A at around 8 p.m. PNG time. You can follow all of that by tuning into EMTV starting tomorrow. There will be a total of 48 matches played till the final on November 2nd. Be sure to tune into EMTV to watch all those games, and do check out our Sports In page on Facebook for this schedule as well.
And to Rugby League, and while the rest of the city and the country carried on with independence celebrations on Monday, the Motu Koita Rugby League Association went into their first semi-final rounds, and this time at Baba Park, a much better turf than the harsh conditions at the Konedobu Oval.
Sports scene arrived in time to capture the Baroni Eagles and Tatana Vikings in action. The Baroni side dominated in most parts of the match, scoring 10 points from 2 tries and a successful conversion, with the Tatana side following closely behind on 8 points, and that was how the score remained heading out to half-time. Second half came with renewed energy from the Vikings, who went on the attack, and they crossed over the try line in the remaining 5 to bring the scoreline to 10-12 in their favour. And the unsuccessful conversion left them on 12, but that did not stop them from making sure the Baroni Eagles do not score again till full-time. The second round of finals will be this weekend, where grand finalists will be confirmed for the following weekend. Motu Koita Rugby League Association President Pipi Daiboy says this season has turned out well despite a few challenges along the way.
The competition, having 12 teams means 11 rounds to run the competition. And there was a bit of disruption this year due to an incident which I've mentioned to you earlier on of a protest and an appeal. But we've managed to establish an understanding between the aggrieved party and us, so this competition has been allowed. And I do sympathize with those the aggrieved parties, the team that has been affected in not taking part in this competition, especially the final series today. But they have, they can always come back next year. And the reason why we took a strong stand against the team was because of the misconduct, the offense that involved, the supporters chasing the opponent players and the supporters, so we decided to ban the team. So that's the only disruption that has happened due to this club protesting and also making an appeal. So one weekend was disrupted. So it's about, we've run the competition for about 12 weeks, and today is the beginning of this weekend is the beginning of the final series, which will run for 4 weekends.
Since its inception in 2016, the association has made strides with a participation of over 10 teams every year. Although being affiliated to PNG Rugby Football League and are required to include a women's competition, they are yet to include a women's division due to the not-so-ideal location they are based at currently.
We were also, being an affiliated to PNG RFL, we were also required to run a women's competition. But since our competition has been running and using the Konedobu, the Sehubert Murray Stadium number 2 oval, which is in a deteriorating condition, not suitable for the women, we decided to shelve the women's competition until if we find a proper oval or field where the turf is good for women, then we will allow the women's competition as well. And this year, we've learned from the past. We decided to affiliate only 12 teams. The same teams within NCDC area are still affiliated. From the outside NCDC, we've included or registered a team from Papa Village and also from Rock Village as well.
The chairman hopes that situation changes for them in the near future.
Still on Motu Koita Rugby League, and just like any other, there are bound to be disagreements, but it is fair to say that Motu Koita League handled disciplinary issues well this season, considering that they were a local competition that upheld the rules and regulations of the sport, something more local competitions, not just Rugby League, should carry out in the name of good sportsmanship and the good of the sport.
Any player who commits a misconduct offense that amounts to a severe punishment, we don't hesitate to apply the the penalty accordingly. So we've done that. We've done that to a club that allowed their supporters to chase the opposing team supporters and players. That was way back last year, 2018. And again, when that happened, similar thing happened this year. The precedent has already been set, so we stood by our own decision, and it's our objective to get rid of violence from sports, and we allowed our game to be played in the true spirit of the sport. In this case, it's rugby league. So we've maintained our position against sports violence, and we don't tolerate it.
You know, Dini, discipline has always been an issue in not just rugby league, but in any sport.
Yep, that's right.
And for Motukoita Rugby League understands and the disciplinary issues that they're taking on players is actually really good, because you have to start at the bottom, because when you get to the top, it's like, you know, it becomes an issue. And
when you develop as a player, those sort of qualities should be instilled in you as well to be disciplined. Sports, it teaches discipline as well, so you can't be undisciplined and be, you know, playing a certain sport, because, you know, at some point there's going to be issues. So it's good that the local competitions especially you know, looking into it and addressing it before these players advance onto bigger competitions. We've seen a number of issues happening in the last few months, even last few years, with sports, especially when it comes to grand finals, especially. There's always been issues, and it's good that Motukoita has taken the stance to address it from their level, and something a lot of local competitions around the country should look into, you know, being, you know, strict with as well.
Yes, I mean, like the other local competitions as well are, I think, doing that as well for their players in there. For rugby league, you know, the Intercity Cup competition is quite strict nowadays. So you mess up, they ask you to leave, or you get suspended, or you fined, or something like that. So
because at some point, these people will maybe representing us in a overseas games and all that. So we can't have them carry the PNG name tag and give us those type of issues when they're on foreign soil representing the country. So it's good to start at local competitions. All right, we'll go for a break now, and on the other side, we talk netball championship preparations. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Sports Scene. 2 volleyball, 7 associations took part in the National Capital District Volleyball Association initiative as the Volley Fest at the Tarama Aquatic Center over the long weekend.
The Tarama Aquatic Indoor Center lit up with volleyball athletes and fans over the long Independence weekend in Port Moresby. A volleyball festival was staged by the NCD Volleyball Association to not only celebrate the Independence weekend, but also as a lead-up to the upcoming National Club Championships.
The NCD Volleyball Association executives decided to take time to host this event, so that, you know, invitation was sent out to all the associations and teams that are interested to take part, to prepare for the forthcoming national championship that is in November. So invitation was sent out to associations within and outside of NCDVA, National Capital District. Well, we have Tatana, a team from Babukori, Manubara, also Ruapo Eagles from all the way from Kabuone, junior Dice from Ula, and Mahuru, Kauka, and CDVA. About 7 clubs, associations taking part. NCDC was hosting city festivals some years ago, and it has been off. So NCD Volleyball Association has decided to host the festival. Hopefully it can be run annually, depends on the turnout. And for the club championship, PNG Volleyball Federation is hosting the club championship next weekend from 2021 and 23.
The festival ended on Monday with NCDVA dominating in all divisions, including the under-21 for both boys and girls and the open division for both men and women.
Into netball now, and 3 associations from the southern region are ready for the netball championships in Goroka. Let's take a look.
Preparations towards any national event are an immense task, considering sponsorship, team formulation and numerous undertakings. With the National Netball Championships underway, associations have adorned and embraced preparations, with Southern Region newly established ABAU, the regulars Port Moresby and Karakuhiri Netball Associations. While securing sponsorship was a challenging task, ABAU NA managed to obtain financial assistance from their respective member, Sir Pukatemu.
I'd like to thank my member, a member for ABAU, who has come 110% to give us that support due to first time for ABAU to be represented in that kind of tournament. So he's assisted in every way possible with almost everything, yes. And there's also co-sponsors like Ms. Ave from Motukoita West, yeah.
Karakuhiri Netball Association President Ulato Ave acknowledges the Honorable Governor for Central Province, Robert Agarobe, and ExxonMobil for their support and sponsorship of their contingent to Goroka. POM NA, being the biggest netball association in PNG, sent a small contingent unlike the past years. According to President Ms. Linda Ligo, only the junior teams will be participating due to funding challenges. She said POM NA has suffered a loss in revenue over the last 4 years due to payment of fees for usage of netball facilities at the Rita Flynn netball courts. However, Ms. Ligo remains optimistic that this financial challenge will be a thing of the past come 2020, when an MOU will be formalized between Netball PNG and PNG Sports Foundation on the usage of facilities. POM NA acknowledges Lay Biscuits Company and the Department of Treasury for their support.
Luki Blagata Logoka, and God bless. Thank you.
We'll go for a break now, and on the other side, we wrap things up here on the show.
Welcome back to the show now to Rugby Union, and the Markham Calverts has come on board to sponsor the National Men's Rugby 15s team, the PNG Pukpuks, who are the reigning champions of the 2019 Oceania Rugby 15s tournament that was hosted in Port Moresby. Taking the brand ambassador role for Markham Calverts is 15s captain Ahulo Otio, who thanked Markham Calverts for choosing the Pukpuks.
Come next year or any upcoming events, Pukpuks will have the privilege of getting some form of support from Markham Calverts. The sponsorship is only fitting as the name of their newest product, Pukpuk Palisade Fence, goes well with the name of the team.
Now, the PNG Pukpuks, it doesn't have the same exposure as the league. You know, the league, everyone in PNG. You know, and so they look at So you look at the Rugby Union, and they don't have the same exposure. So we thought, well, PNG Pukpuks, we could see that as being our fencing. PNG Pukpuk, Pukpuk Palisade.
Team captain Ahulo Otio thanked Markham Calverts for choosing Pukpuks to be the face of their new product. He says it's not only about setting standards, but also representing a brand within the community and wider surroundings.
We are so happy to be associated with Markham Calverts. Being chosen as the brand ambassador is a tremendous honor. Markham Calverts have been around in PNG for quite a long time, since 1972. And I am so privileged that a company with so much history in the country being associated with a national team such as the Pukpuks. So I thank you, Makam Calverts, for choosing the Pukpuks. Now, in terms of sponsorship that we get in, Makam Calverts will be providing 2,000 kina worth of medical kits for the duration of the contract. Also 70 pieces of round neck training shirts, branded, and 15 high visibility training shirts, branded as well. And in return, the ambassador or the team as a whole, they're happy to participate in whatever marketing or promotional activities that Makam Calverts deems fit to carry out.
Lane says while it may not be a big sponsorship, the benefits of what has been offered will go a long way to supporting the players.
For us to put a small investment into PNG Pukpuks is a worthwhile thing. You know, I'd like to say it's huge, but it's not. You know, we have a regular payment weekly. We have to cover costs when we ask people to come and do something for us. And that's why tonight at the end there I said as time goes on I'd like to see it grow. I would like, as the general manager of the company, I'd like to see that our involvement is good for them and good for us before we start going off on a tangent.
Meanwhile, Otio says the team is now preparing for their upcoming events since their last win during the Oceania Rugby 15s tournament, who are the current reigning champions for 2019.
15s has been out from the international scene for almost 2-3 years, and there's been some differences at the top, and that's affected how we participated in the region. But we put it all behind us now. Despite the differences, we had people still turning up at the paddock for training, for game days, and the victory just 2 weeks ago was a testament of the perseverance and the attitude and the willingness to play. Interest is still here, and it's only going to get bigger and better.
He says PNG has so much great talent and potential when it comes to rugby union, and would like to see many upcoming talents to one day wear the Pukpuk jersey.
Completing a marathon in every country in the world as part of a Guinness World Record attempt is Nick Butter, who commenced his Papua New Guinea Marathon from the Yacht Club in the capital and yesterday running the stretch of the Ring Road to Koki.
Marathon runner Nick Butter, since the start of the marathon in Toronto, Canada, has traveled the world non-stop. He says the trip took 2 years to plan, with his first stop Toronto, Canada, then America, where he traveled to North, Central and South America, Africa, Europe, Asia and now Oceania.
The aim is to raise £250,000 for Prostate Cancer UK. And a number of years ago, I was running a marathon out in the Sahara Desert, a really big, long 280-kilometre race, 281 kilometres actually. And I met this guy called Kevin. He was 49 at the time, really inspirational chap and incredibly happy, and he just had a way about him. And he dropped this bombshell on me that he had terminal prostate cancer. And so I didn't know much about prostate cancer at all, and did some research and wanted to raise some funds for him. And so I decided to go and do this crazy mission. And like I said, it took a long time to get to the start line, but hopefully by the time I finish the trip, we'll be close to that target of £250,000.
Since starting his journey in January, Nick has travelled for 88 weeks, 618 days, running with people supporting the event. The race began from Yacht Club with some resident runners in Port Moresby who ran alongside Nick. They ran past Waterfront Foodland, past Naked Fish, and around the Ring Road past Apex House, a quick pause for a photo at Ella Beach, then back to the finish line. Goodman Fielder International sponsored Nick with his stay in Port Moresby on the basis of promoting good health and healthy living, riding behind the main aim of the marathon, which was the awareness of prostate cancer.
We're supporting the marathon runner because he's doing something for health and healthy, active lifestyle. So that's what he's doing it for. That's why we support him. We heard about his cause, and so we put him up, we gave him accommodation, we did all that kind of stuff for him. So we wanted to just help him and support his run, get an escort behind him and make sure that he does a safe marathon while he's in Papua New Guinea.
Nick says awareness of prostate cancer is very important.
Is the message about prostate cancer. And so, although I'm a runner, first and foremost, I want people to learn about prostate cancer and the importance of getting out there and getting yourself checked. So the message is, if you're a man and you're over 40 years old, you need to go and get your prostate checked as soon as you can and do it every year. Basically, number one message, go and get yourself checked if you haven't been checked. Number two, this whole trip isn't just about raising awareness and charity, it's about adventure and exploration and meeting people and the community of runners. And these guys have supported here, and I'm so grateful because small pockets of really lovely people like you guys all over the world have made this trip happen.
By the time Nick finishes his run in the birthplace of marathon in Athens, he would have travelled all around the world, covering all 196 countries in the world.
I won't have missed anything by the end. I have the likes of Libya, Syria, Yemen, Iran, Sudan, all of those sort of places coming up shortly, as well as Cape Verde, Portugal, and then obviously Greece to finish. So there's some difficult ones coming up, but I'll finish in November.
And that's all we have for tonight's show. Now, Dini, you'll be out over the weekend, is that correct?
Yes. I'll be moving around, of course, Bisini, the Bisini precinct. There's a lot of sporting activities happening there. Motu Koita Rugby League will go into second round of finals over the weekend, so I'll be checking that out as well. Of course, I'll check all the local sports that will be happening over the weekend. Are you covering anything in particular?
No, not really. I'll just be going from point A to everywhere. I'll just be everywhere covering
The usual weekend
yes,
runs. The usual weekend runs.
weekend runs. But if you'd like us to cover any of your sporting events or any particular sporting story, you can send us an email to sports@emtv.com.pg or message us on our Facebook page, that's Sports Scene on Facebook, or call us on 312-9200, and we'll be more than willing to help you out. Yeah.
All right, that's it for tonight.
That's about it. You can join us same time, same place next week. I'm Elijah Lavette.
I'm Dinero Strikel.
Good night.